All right, let's get straight to it. If you just look at the headlines, the economy of 2026 looks absolutely fantastic. We're talking about a serious boom, one that's being fueled by some incredible innovation and real solid growth. But, and you knew there was a but coming, that is not the whole story. Not even close. Okay, so here's the first big number that's getting everyone excited. The forecast for US GDP growth is a really healthy 2.2%. Now, after some shaky years, a number like that feels like a huge sigh of relief. It signals a strong, re-accelerating economy that's getting its confidence back, you know? It's being powered by new investments, new policies. It's the kind of number that suggests things are definitely on the up and up. And it's not just the same old economy chugging along. The global gig economy, we're talking freelancers, contract workers, all of it, is projected to hit almost $700 billion. I mean, that's just a mind-bogglingly huge market. It represents this fundamental tectonic shift in how we think about work and how people are earning a living all across the globe. So with numbers like these flying around, everyone should be celebrating, right? Everyone should be feeling that lift. Well, this is where the picture starts to get complicated, because hiding behind those fantastic headline numbers is a completely different reality. For literally millions of families and workers, this so-called economic boom doesn't feel like a boom at all. In fact, for them, it feels a lot more like a bust. So let's quickly recap the good side of the story. What exactly is driving this boom? Well, on paper, it's a mix of big government spending and massive investment from the private sector, especially into game-changing tech like AI. That's the engine driving that 2.2% growth we talked about. It's creating a ton of wealth and really pushing the economy into the future. The problem is, it's an engine that's roaring right past millions of people, leaving them in the dust. Let's dig into why. Okay, so let's pivot to the first major pressure point. For millions and millions of working parents, the economy feels less like a thrilling ride and more like being stuck in a vice. And the pressure is coming from one of the most essential pieces of our society, childcare. To really get our heads around this, we need to understand a key term, a childcare desert. Now, you've probably heard of food deserts, right? It's the same basic idea. The Center for American Progress defines it as any area where there's just not enough licensed childcare to go around, specifically where you've got more than 3 little kids for every single licensed spot available. It's a simple mismatch of supply and demand. And believe me, it creates absolute chaos for families trying to make it work. And look, this is not some small niche problem affecting a few unlucky towns. This is a nationwide issue. A staggering 51% of the entire U.S. population lives in one of these childcare deserts. Just let that sink in for a second. More than half the country is in a situation where finding reliable care just so you can go to your job is a massive struggle. The financial fallout from this is just devastating. This isn't just an inconvenience that makes scheduling a nightmare, it's a full-blown poverty trap. The ridiculously high cost of care pushes an estimated 134,000 families into poverty every single year. Think about that. These are people who are working, trying to get ahead, but they're falling behind because the cost of having a job is just too high. Let's make this even more real. Take a single parent, for example. On average, childcare costs will eat up 32% of their median household income. 32%. Now, for context, the federal government's own benchmark for what's considered affordable is 7%. We're not just missing the target here, we're on a different planet. And here's the absolute paradox at the heart of this whole crisis. You'd think, with parents being squeezed for every last dime, that the people providing this incredibly important service, the early childhood educators, must be making a decent living, right? Nope. The median wage for a childcare teacher is less than $15 an hour. That's less than many parking attendants make. So the system is failing the parents who need it, and it's failing the educators who provide it. It's just broken from top to bottom. Now, for the second major pressure point, and you'll see how it connects, let's step away from the childcare crisis and look at that booming gig economy we mentioned earlier. It's this world that promises incredible flexibility, the freedom to be your own boss. But as we're about to see, that freedom, it often comes with a very, very steep price tag. I mean, at first glance, the numbers are amazing. The average annual income for a U.S. freelancer is over $108,000. That is more than double the median personal income in the country. Seriously, that's the kind of number that makes you think, hey, maybe I should quit my job tomorrow and become a freelance consultant. Who wouldn't be tempted by that? But hold on a second, that big flashy average is hiding a much more precarious reality. A recent report from Zeti found that a stunning 88% of gig workers have had to take on more jobs just to make ends meet. So while the potential income ceiling is really high, the floor is incredibly unstable. For the vast majority, it's not about thriving. It's a constant scramble, just trying to patch together enough gigs to survive. And here's the fundamental trade-off. That potential for a six-figure income comes at the cost of the entire social safety net that most of us take for granted. If you're a traditional employee, you expect things like health insurance, a 401k match, paid sick days, unemployment insurance. It's all part of the deal. But for a gig worker, you're on your own. You have to navigate the incredibly complex and expensive marketplace for your own benefits, with no employer chipping in to share the burden. That $108,000 starts to look a lot different when you have to pay for all of that yourself. So when you put these two stories together, the childcare crisis and the gig workers' gamble, a clear picture emerges. What we really have here are two completely different economic experiences happening at the exact same time. It's a boom for some, and it's a bust for others. And when you zoom out, the source material makes it clear this isn't some random accident. It's a defining feature of an economy that is split by a great and growing divide. I want you to just sit with this statistic for a moment because it is staggering. According to the World Inequality Report, the top 0.001% of the population, we're talking about a tiny handful of people, fewer than 60,000 individuals. They own more wealth than the entire bottom half of humanity combined. That's more than 4 times billion people. This isn't just a wealth gap, it's a canyon, and it fundamentally changes who actually benefits when the economy grows. Now, it's really crucial that we look at this from every angle. It's not a simple story. Research from the American Enterprise Institute offers a really important counterpoint. They argue that yes, the middle class is shrinking, but it's not only because people are falling into poverty. For a pretty significant number of families, it's because they've actually moved up into the upper middle class. So this really highlights that the story isn't one of universal decline, but more of a great sorting, a polarization that's creating big winners and big losers. So if the system we have is creating these two diverging parallel economies, the next logical question is, can we redesign it? Is it possible to build something better? Well, the sources we've been looking at don't just spend time diagnosing the problem, they also offer up some pretty concrete ideas for the path forward. The recommendations really boil down to a few key areas. First, for the childcare crisis, the focus is all about smart public investment in a high-quality system and, crucially, paying early educators a living wage. Second, for gig workers, it's about building a modern safety net, finding ways to provide access to affordable benefits. And finally, across the board, all the sources call for better data so we can actually measure what's working and target support where it's needed most. And that really leaves us with this final massive question. Our economy is, without a doubt, transforming. It's being reshaped by technology, by new ways of working, by huge global forces. The old rules just don't seem to fit anymore. So, as we start to write the new ones, the fundamental question we all have to answer is this: who should this new economy be designed to serve? That's the real challenge of 2026 and for all the years to come.